Part 5. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 41. Chapter 41. Are you sure this is not self-abuse? She is used to making her own decisions on everything. She forgets that this girl has grown up and is not the little girl who didn't understand anything. She also has her own ideas. No, Lu Ning said, Uncle Song is very good. After you marry him, you will have more people to take care of you. But you are alone. I have grown up and can take care of myself. Tang Li looked at her and said nothing more. The next day, as soon as Lu Ning entered the classroom, she saw Jian Nian with a pair of walnut eyes, struggling to put double eyelid patches on her eyelids in front of the mirror. What's going on with you? Jian Nian reluctantly used the double eyelid tape to open up the world in front of her eyes, turned around and said, I found a very good novel last night, but the emotional scene between the male protagonist and the female protagonist was too sad. I couldn't control it for a moment, that's it? Lu Ning twitched her lips and said, Are you sure this isn't self-abuse? Jian Nian, you don't understand the joy of finding candy in the glass shards. Lu Ning, thank you, she doesn't want to understand at all. Jian Nian couldn't help but said to her, she's really, really good looking. The male protagonist is a paranoid yandere. As long as the female protagonist looks at someone else, he will imprison them and torture them. Ahem, I just can't have for days and nights. It's like a bed, but it's really heart-wrenching to see. Lu Ning, are you sure this isn't an illness, and it's still a serious illness? Jian Nian, I'm just sick, otherwise, how could this be a paranoid and sickly novel? How desperate can a girl be to find someone like this? Lu Ning felt that not only men were sick, but women were sick as well. Anyone who was normal would definitely stay away from such a person. There would be no emotional drama at all. Don't you think it's very affectionate? This kind of man can't live without you, and only you are the only one in his heart and eyes. If you ignore the fact that he is sick, don't you think this kind of man is still very fragrant? Lu Ning, I don't think so. I just think this kind of love is just possessiveness in the name of love. If I were the heroine, I would definitely stay as far away from him as possible, and there would be no way I could fall in love with him. Tisk, do you want to be so calm? This girl is simply sober in the world. Her thoughts are not worthy of her face at all. It will definitely be hard for boys who like you in the future. It's better than being like this and being fooled by others in the future. What are you two talking about? Are you lying or not? Who wants to lie to whom? Shen Yu had just arrived and approached him gossiping. Jian Nian rolled her eyes at him and said, You, a man, should stop asking about fairies. Shen Yu shrugged and said, If you don't want to tell me, don't tell me. I also have some gossip here. Do you two want to hear it? What's the point? Just tell me quickly, Jian Nian urged. Shen Yu then looked at Lu Ning. Lu Ning, is it related to me? Shen Yu nodded, probably because he was worried about Lu Ning's mood, so he said as tactfully as possible, I don't know who is talkative, but it is said that you have two things, and you are with the third brother and the guy from the next class at the same time. The transfer student is ambiguous. Of course, the original words are even uglier than this. By the way, Sister Ning, which one do you like? Jian Nian glared at him, if you ask this, do you believe the rumors? Shen Yu said nonchalantly, aren't I curious? Just ask casually. Lu Ning reacted calmly and seemed not to be affected by the rumors at all. I don't like any of them, she said. End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 42. Chapter 42. Indescribable Things. Lu Ning didn't pay much attention at first. This rumor has been around since she was in junior high school. Because she and Lu Xian have always been in and out of the same place, speculation about the two of them has never stopped. In the past, I ignored it. But I didn't expect that the rumors would get worse this time. First, it was rumored that she was with Lucian and Song Tingzi, and gradually evolved into her being ambiguous with many boys. The toilet has always been the largest gathering place for rumors and gossip. Girl A, tisk, guess what I saw this morning? Luning and Song Tingzi actually came to school in the car together. Girl B, I was after school last night, and I saw the two of them leaving in the car together. Girl C, did they stay together last night? Girl D, really or fake? I've seen her and Lucian going to and from school together before. Girl A, it must be true, haven't you heard? She is quite messy in private, having affairs with different boys. Girl B, I've heard that too, but it's unlikely that you'll spend the night with someone, right? Is there anything impossible? I heard that her parents are divorced and no one cares about her. That's why her private life is so messy. She has been messing around with different boys at a young age. Girl curled her lips with a look on her face. Disdain. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw that the door of one of the stalls in the toilet was kicked open, which shocked the people outside. He saw Jian Nian walking out of the cubicle, walked directly to the sink, washed her hands, and then looked at the girl who was the most enthusiastic about it and said, "My mouth is so smelly, I ate dozens of kilograms of garlic this morning. I advise you to go home and wash yourself early to avoid inhaling others." After saying that, he stretched out his hand and fanned his nose, as if there was really that unpleasant smell in the air. The girl's face suddenly turned red. She spoke ill of the person behind her back and was overheard. She was also questioned and humiliated by the other person in person. For a moment, she felt ashamed and annoyed. She glared at her and said, "I didn't say anything about you. It's none of your business. Jian Nian, when you talk about my sisters, you are talking about me." The latter also recognized that the other party was Lu Ning's friend. He felt guilty and embarrassed, and said in a flash, I didn't say anything wrong. Besides, everyone said that, so I'm not the only one. Everyone else is going to eat shit. Are you going to go? Jian Nian said coldly. Also, do you have evidence for what you said? If there is no evidence, it is a rumor, and you will be charged with legal evidence. Believe it or not, I will tell you now. Can I call the police to arrest you? As soon as the latter heard that the police were going to call the police, his face suddenly turned pale, but he quickly calmed down and said, "Don't scare me. She used to go in and out with Lucian all day long, and now she's changed to classmate Song. Many classmates watched when the two of them left by car together and came to school together in the morning. Doesn't that count as evidence?" Jian Nian looked at her and sneered, "Is it a problem to go to school together? You should have come by bus in the morning, right? There are so many people on the bus, are they all having an affair with you? You are using strong words." The latter gritted his teeth and glared at her. Jian Nian retorted lightly, "I think you are the one who talks nonsense. You talk nonsense without evidence. There is no cost to spread rumors if you dare. I'll let you spread your thoughts and make up nonsense, right? I also said that I did it yesterday. I saw you going to the hotel with a boy. Did you two do something unspeakable last night?" The girl's face suddenly turned purple. "You are talking nonsense. When did I go to the hotel with someone?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is sweet and wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 43. Chapter 43. Those who humiliate others will always be humiliated. Jian Nian snorted coldly and said, "What's wrong with me just talking nonsense? You are allowed to talk nonsense, but I can't say it? Why do I think you are so overbearing? Those who humiliate others will always humiliate them. Such a simple truth, don't you understand? Even if you don't understand, it's okay. I can teach you. When you spread rumors about others, others can also spread rumors about you, as long as you don't only allow the state officials to set fires but not the people to light lamps. The girl couldn't help but turned black with anger. She gritted her teeth and said, I'm too lazy to tell you. Finally, she walked away dejectedly. Jian then looked at the others and said, and you, next time I hear your nonsense, don't blame me for being rude. After all, spreading rumors all depends on one mouth. You can do it, and so can others. Everyone else has also noticed that this girl is an evil spirit. She dares to say and do anything. Many people feel that they cannot afford to offend her and they lower their heads and avoid her. They just wish that this girl had not seen her. Some of them were unconvinced and said to her angrily, you defend her like this. Could it be that you are the same person as her? What do you mean? Jian looked coldly at the girl who spoke. The latter snorted coldly, everyone knows it well. Jian, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Why don't you just say it directly? The latter choked for a moment, but did not want to lose his momentum in front of the other party. He frowned and said, just say it. Lu Ning and Lu Xian have been in an ambiguous relationship for more than a day or two, and now they are so close to their new classmates. Jian couldn't help but clapped her hands and said, the idiom is well used. However, why do I think your words are so bitter? If I remember correctly, you should have written a love letter to the third brother before, right? Why, now is it because you are unwilling to be rejected and are trying to gain a sense of presence? Or is it because you can't get it and can't bear to see him being nice to others? The girl's thoughts were exposed, and her face suddenly felt embarrassed. I don't know what you are talking about. I don't know. It doesn't matter, I just need to remember it. Do you need me to take out the love letter and read it out? Jian looked at her with a smile. The girl's eyes flickered, and a trace of panic flashed in her heart. Don't spread rumors. When did I write a love letter? She secretly stuffed the letter into Lu Xian's desk, and no one except herself would read it. Jian smiled slightly and began to read, Hello Lu Xian, maybe you don't know me, but I have known you for a long time. When did it start? Do you still remember? Shut up, you are not allowed to recite it anymore. The latter's expression changed the moment she spoke. After Jian recited a few sentences, the other party's volume suddenly increased, and her voice even broke because she was in a hurry to stop her. In this case, it seems like a guilty conscience. What, admitted it? Jian looked at the other party's reaction with satisfaction and said, you are spreading rumors and saying bad things about Ning Ning. In the final analysis, you are just jealous of her because you can't get it. But you don't take a good look at yourselves in the mirror, so why are you comparing yourself to Ning Ning? Our Ning Ning has a face that is loved by everyone and a flower that blooms everywhere. Can you compare with us? I have grown up like a crooked melon and a cracked jujube, but I want to miss the moon in the sky without even checking whether I am worthy. End of this chapter. The school sweetheart soft green plum is sweet and wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 44. Chapter 44 Love Letter. If you don't get it, you will backbite others. If I were you, I should hold the mirror and take a good look at your ugly face. Not to mention the third brother, even ordinary boys will never be willing to look at you again. Jian said a lot in one breath. She had never cursed someone so happily. You. The latter was so angry that he couldn't refute a word. Jian snorted and said, what are you? Did I say something wrong? I'm too lazy to pay attention to you. The latter couldn't help her, and finally gave her a fierce look and left with a sullen face. At this time, the door to the innermost compartment opened and Lu Ning walked out. He glanced at Jian and said, have you really read the love letter written by the other party? Jian smiled slyly and said, how is that possible? I was just talking casually. Isn't that how love letters are written at the beginning? I just bluffed her casually. It doesn't matter if I say it wrong anyway. Others don't know the content of the love letter. Can she still read the contents of her love letter and confront me? Of course, she is not afraid even if there is a confrontation. Her purpose was to prove that the other party's courtship failed, and then she would maliciously slander Lu Ning. As long as the other party admitted that she had written it, the content of the love letter was completely unimportant. Lu Ning couldn't help but laugh and said, "I guess so. But how do you know she wrote a love letter to Lu Xian?" Jian Nian blinked at her and said, "My guess is that she was talking most enthusiastically to another girl just now. She is obviously jealous of you. Student Song just transferred here not long ago. Even if a girl likes him, it should only be in the stage of liking him. It's not like she hates you because of it, so I guess the person she likes is the third brother. Judging from the look of the other party, she has probably confessed and been rejected. But if it is confessed in person, it is impossible that she has not heard of it, so it can only be written in secret. Love letter. The other party didn't even have the courage to hand over the love letter in person, so I deliberately said I wanted to read it out, and she immediately panicked. Lu Ning smiled, "I can't tell, your observation and analysis skills are so strong, you can even see this." Jian Nian raised his eyebrows and said with a proud face, "Of course, reading novels for so many years is not in vain. I dare say that the ability to identify whores is at level 9, if not level 10. He then comforted Lu Ning, "Those people are just jealous, so they keep spreading rumors to slander you. Don't listen to their nonsense. I'm fine." The two of them returned to class. As soon as they entered the classroom, they heard the monitor say, "Lu Ning, the monitor is looking for you." "Did you tell me what it was about?" Lu Ning asked. Class was about to start soon. If there was no rush, she planned to go there after the next class. The class monitor glanced at her apologetically and said, "The head teacher didn't say anything, so you might as well go and see for yourself." Finally, he reminded her, "However, I think the head teacher's face doesn't look good." "That probably isn't a good thing." "Okay, I understand, thank you." Lu Ning frowned slightly and thanked the other party. Looking back, Jian Nian looked at her worriedly and said, "The head teacher suddenly came to you, isn't it because of the recent rumors? Just go and take a look and you'll find out." Lu Ning is not afraid that the head teacher will come to her about this matter. After all, lies cannot become true. However, rumors have been spreading more and more recently. Although she can ignore them, she will inevitably feel bored after hearing them too much. End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 45. Chapter 45 Teacher, I don't have puppy love. Jian Nian gritted her teeth and couldn't help but angrily said, "It's all those who talk nonsense all day long. Next time I meet them, I will tear their mouths apart. I'll go to the office first to check, maybe it's something else." The office is very quiet. "Teacher." Lu Ning knocked on the door and walked in. "Coming." The head teacher was grading homework. When he heard the voice, he looked up and glanced at her. Then he took out a letter from the drawer and handed it to her and said, "You have a look first. I found this in the principal's mailbox this morning." Lu Ning took the letter from the head teacher in confusion. "I opened it and found that it was an anonymous report letter printed on a computer. The other party said in the letter that she was having affairs with several boys, which seriously violated school rules and disciplines, and affected the school's atmosphere. She asked the school to deal with it seriously to avoid damaging the school. Many students." After Lu Ning read it, she frowned slightly and looked at her class teacher. "Teacher, I don't have puppy love. Teacher naturally believes in you, but boys and girls still need to pay attention to boundaries when getting along, so as not to cause unnecessary misunderstandings." The head teacher pushed up the glasses on the bridge of her nose and said to her, "It is normal for adolescent boys and girls to have a little ignorant feelings, especially if the little girl is beautiful. It is understandable that a group of brats are ready to surround her, because no one is young yet. I think he had a crush on the class girl in the class. If it weren't for the desire to attract the other person's attention, he wouldn't have studied hard and got admitted to the ideal university, although the school belle never paid attention to him in the end. But at least it shows that liking someone in your youth is not entirely a bad thing. It's just that in the information age, rumors spread quickly, and the report letter matter made him have to pay attention to it. They are all teenagers, of the same age. Although study is important, physical and mental health is more important. As a class teacher, I must not only catch puppy love, but at the same time, I also need to pay attention to the psychological status of the students. The teacher is here to ask you, have you had any conflicts with your classmates recently? Lu Ning glanced at the report letter in her hand and guessed what the head teacher meant. She was suspicious, but in the end she shook her head. Seeing that she couldn't ask anything here, the head teacher said, "Okay, then you can go back to class first. The teacher will investigate this matter clearly." "Thank you, teacher." Lu Ning came out of the office and turned left at the door to reach the stairs. She was about to go downstairs when she didn't expect that a figure was leaning on the stairs. Lu Ning didn't pay attention and almost bumped into him. Looking up, he saw Lu Xian's familiar face. "Why are you here?" Seeing the other party, Lu Ning couldn't help but be surprised. "Come to help you out. I heard that someone is spreading rumors about us." "Let me help you explain to your class teacher," Lu Xian said, standing up and walking towards the office. He just went to look for her in class, intending to ask her which day on the weekend she would go to his house for dinner, but he heard about the girl being called to the office by the class teacher. Lu Ning pulled her back and said, "No, I've already explained it." "You really don't need my help," Lu Xian raised his eyebrows. Lu Ning glared at him. "You can't tell if you go in now." Her voice was light, but had a softness to it, and with a deliberately lowered ending, she revealed a bit of coquettishness. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 46. Chapter 46, I don't like you, why should I avoid suspicion? Lu Xian touched his nose and felt a little itchy at the base of his ears for no reason. "Okay, but what's going on with you and the new transfer student? If it was just her and this girl, why would she bring that guy with her?" "It's okay." Lu Ning hurried back to class and passed him to go downstairs. Lu Xian grabbed her and said, "Little girl, are you really in love?" "No. It's fine if you don't have one. Let me tell you, don't fall in love prematurely. At your age, you may even choose the wrong 4 options A B C D, let alone choose a man. Listen to my brother, you have to wait until college at least for a boyfriend. Look for it later." "Ang," Lu Ning responded casually, then raised her head and looked at him. "By the way, the head teacher asked me to pay attention to maintaining boundaries with boys, so from now on, you'd better stay away from me." "I don't like you, why do you want to avoid suspicion?" Lu Xian said unhappily when he heard this. Lu Ning felt a heart attack inexplicably. How did this man survive until now without being beaten to death? Lu Xian looked at the girl's obviously angry face. No matter how slow he was, he realized that he had said the wrong thing again. He couldn't help but touch his nose and said, "That's not what I meant." Lu Ning interrupted him, "Okay, you don't need to explain. Once this person explains, he might be able to say something more heart-wrenching. So just shut up." Lu Xian felt guilty after being stared at. He smiled, then looked at her flatteringly and said, "By the way, my mother asked me to ask you, are you going to see her on Saturday or Sunday, so that she can buy groceries in advance? You like to eat?" Lu Ning couldn't help but feel warm in her heart when she heard this. If it wasn't for Aunt G, she would have broken up with this guy 800 times. Sunday, she said. There has been no one living in the house for a while, so I guess it needs a good cleaning. I will move back on Saturday and tidy up the house first, and then go to the next door for dinner on Sunday. Okay, I will tell my mother. Let's go and take you back to the classroom. Thank you, no need. It's safer for us to go separately. She didn't forget who those rumors were because of. The next second, Lu Xian grabbed his shoulder and said, okay, only those with evil intentions should avoid suspicion. Why should we avoid suspicion if we are just and above board? Lu Ning, however, slapped his hand away and said, there is really no need to avoid suspicion with others, but as for you, I think it's better to avoid it, lest your admirers treat me as an imaginary enemy. Don't underestimate the jealousy of a girl, let alone the jealousy of a group of girls. Her current situation is the best example. Lu Xian stared at her little face and raised his eyebrows. So, are you planning to draw a clear line between you and me? Lu Ning, that's fine if you want to say that. The next second he was hit the forehead. Don't even think about it. Lu Ning clenched her fists, feeling extremely angry. Sooner or later, she was going to beat this guy into a pig's head. The weekend is here in a blink of an eye. Must we move back? Tang Li has a case to go to court on Monday. Although it is the weekend, he has an appointment with the client to meet him soon and has no time to see her off. Yeah, Lu Ning nodded, I will take care of myself, and you should also pay attention to rest. Then please pay attention to your own safety and call me if you have anything to do. After letting the other party move back to live alone, Tang Li was still a little worried, so he warned her carefully before preparing to leave. By the way, I almost forgot, this is for you. End of this chapter. The school sweetheart soft green plum is sweet and wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 47. Chapter 47. Can you please stop moving your hands and feet? After walking a few steps, she suddenly remembered something, turned back, opened her bag, took out a bank card and handed it to her, saying, this is the living expenses I have prepared for you. If it is not enough, remember to tell me. Thanks, Mom. The law firm's income has been good in the past few years, and Tang Li has never mistreated her financially. However, Lu Ning always felt that it was not easy for her to make money alone, so she kept most of the money Tang Li gave her and never spent it randomly. Tang Li also knew this, and while feeling sorry for this girl's sensibleness, he worked harder to make money. She never regretted taking her out, she was only afraid that she would not be able to give her a better life. Now that she proposed to move back alone, Tang Li was not only worried, but also blamed himself for not being a competent mother. Tang Li stretched out his hand, originally wanting to touch her head, but when he reached halfway, he suddenly realized that the person in front of him was already a grown-up girl, and she was no longer the one who would follow her and hold her hand and say, Mom, don't be afraid. I will always be with you, little girl. Her girl has grown up. Tang Li moved his fingertips slightly, and finally retracted his hand and said, take good care of yourself, I'm leaving. Lu Ning watched the other party's figure disappear at the door, and then went upstairs to pack her luggage. Lu Ning didn't have many things. When she moved, she took some changes of clothes with her. Now it's easy to move back. Song Wanzhou offered to send her off, but Lu Ning did not refuse. Regardless of whether she accepts it deep down in her heart, this man will be the one who will accompany her mother in the future. She hopes that the two of them can be happy. The car stopped at the gate of the community. Song Wanzhou helped her take the luggage out of the trunk. Lu Ning took the suitcase and said, thank you, Uncle Song. I'll ask you to take care of my mother. You should also pay attention to your own safety, and go back to see your mother if you have nothing to do, Song Wanzhou warned her. Lu Ning, I will. Song Wanzhou watched her enter the community and then drove away. Lu Ning stood below the unit building and took out her access card. Just as she was about to swipe the card, she saw the door being opened from the inside. Lu Xian had one hand in his trouser pocket, one hand holding the door handle, and a pair of Bluetooth headsets hanging on his ears. Seeing Lu Ning standing outside the door of the unit building, she couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, then raised her eyebrows and said, "Didn't you say you would come back tomorrow? Today seems to be only Saturday, right? Could it be that he misremembered the time?" "Lu Ning, I only said that I would go to get some food tomorrow, but I didn't say that I wouldn't come back today." "Lu Xian. Fine. No matter what, she is right." Lu Xian found it difficult to speak while standing at the door, so he simply opened the door wider, let her in and said, "So, you want to stay here tonight?" Lu Ning put the access card back into her pocket and entered the unit building. Lu Xian then noticed the suitcase in her hand and raised his eyebrows. "Why are you still bringing your luggage with you when you come back for a meal?" "Lu Ning, you take care of me." Lu Xian raised his eyebrows. Hey, not only has this girl's temper increased, her courage has also increased, and she doesn't take him seriously anymore. Lu Xian raised his hand, knocked her the forehead and said, "You little girl, how can you talk to me? Don't think that I can't control you because you have moved." Lu Ning was in pain, gritted her teeth and glared at him. "Just speak, can you please stop moving your hands and feet?" She really wanted to break his hand. Lu Xian curled his lips slightly and said in a harsh tone, "Don't accuse me falsely. I'll take action at most. When have I done anything?" Lu Ning. Is this the point? End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 48. Chapter 48, How Much Wrong I Have Suffered. At this time, a voice came from the Bluetooth headset and said, "Third brother, who are you talking to? Everyone has been waiting for you for a long time. When will you arrive?" "Lu Xian, you guys play first, I'll go there later." "I see, is it Sister Ning?" Tisk, he just heard something move. "Third brother, this beast, doesn't know what he did to Sister Ning." Lu Xian ended the call before the other party finished speaking. He looked at the angry little girl in front of him and said, "I'll help you get your luggage up." After saying that, before Lu Ning could refuse, he directly took the suitcase from her hand. It has been unoccupied for nearly a month, and there is a slight dust on the ground. Fortunately, everything about the furniture is covered with something. The first thing Lu Ning did after entering the door was to click on her phone and turn on the working mode of the sweeping robot. Then she looked at Lu Xian and said, "I have to clean and I don't have time to greet you. If you have nothing to do, just go back first." Lu Xian directly opened the cover on the sofa, sat on it and said, "Which of us will follow who? I'll stay here to help you." "But, what's your situation? What's going on?" Lu Xian pointed to the suitcase she placed in the living room and said, "This is luggage and cleaning. You don't plan to move back here for a long time, do you? If you just come back for a meal, it won't be so grand. This is my home. Is there any problem if I move back here?" Lu Ning collected the dust covers on the furniture one by one and threw them into the washing machine. Hearing this, Lu Xian, who had been lazily leaning on the sofa, immediately sat up straight. The expression on his face suddenly became more serious. He looked at her and said, "Are they bullying you over there? Where's Aunt Tang? I'll let you move alone, come out." After so long, he had already figured out the reason why this girl moved. "I was worried before that the girl would be wronged when she went to her new home, but seeing that she was in good condition, I didn't ask any more questions." When he unexpectedly heard that he was moving back, Lu Xian's first reaction was that she was not treated well there and the girl was not happy there. She moved back here as a little girl to live alone, whether it was safe or not was another matter, but she felt how wronged she must have been. "I'm moving back here myself, it has nothing to do with it, Lu Ning said. Lu Xian stared at her for a while, and saw that she did not look like she had been wronged. Then he relaxed again and said, "So, you plan to live alone in the future?" "Lu Ning, occasionally I go and stay there for a few days." Lu Xian thought that it would be good if this girl moved back. At least he would no longer have to worry about being late for school. His mood became relaxed and happy, and he said, "It's good, Aunt Tang is not here, and brother Xian is here. What's going to happen in the future? Just ask my brother for help." "No, thank you," Lu Ning simply refused and directly ordered him to be kicked out. "It's nothing, you can go back." Lu Xian raised his eyebrows, and then stood up from the sofa. Just when Lu Ning thought he was about to leave, the latter walked directly towards her. "Don't stop until you reach him." The other party was very close, and Lu Ning felt an inexplicable sense of oppression. "What are you doing?" Lu Ning couldn't help but breathe tightly, and she felt a little nervous for no reason. Lu Xian has been tall since he was a child. After entering high school, he suddenly jumped to more than 1.8 meters tall. Lu Ning's height only reached his chest. You have to look up to talk to him. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 49. Chapter 49, Call Me Brother. Seeing that she was struggling to raise her head, Lu Xian leaned her upper body over and stopped less than 2 centimeters away from her. "Sister, I found that you have been very critical of me recently. This is the second time you have kicked me out." The two of them were so close that Lu Ning could smell the faint smell of mint on each other's body. This was the smell of the shower gel they chose when they went to the supermarket together last time. Lu Ning felt her cheeks feel a little hot for no reason, so she pretended to take a step aside casually. "Who is your sister? Don't keep yelling." Lu Xian didn't notice anything strange about her. He raised his eyebrows, stood up straight and said, "You are younger than me. Why don't you call me sister?" After closing the distance, Lu Ning felt that her breathing suddenly became smoother, and the heat on her face also dissipated a bit. Hearing this, he said, "It's only a few months younger." "Lu Xian, you are still a few months old, and you were quite fluent before. I feel nostalgic when I say it." This girl's voice is soft, and her heart softens when she calls her brother. Those two simple words seemed to be extra sweet when they came out of her mouth. "When others call me, it doesn't feel that way. It's a pity that I haven't heard this girl scream for a long time. How about you call me now to hear it?" Roll dash. Lu Ning couldn't help but feel her cheeks heat up when she mentioned her dark history. In the final analysis, it's not this guy's fault. He's so tall for nothing. Lu Xian felt more energetic, and he pestered her with a playful smile, "Be good, just call me once." "Lu Xian, are you finished?" Lu Ning was so annoyed that she wanted to hit someone, so she kicked him with a black face. "Iffies." Lu Xian was kicked in the calf, and he immediately bared his teeth, and his expression didn't look like he was pretending. Lu Ning couldn't help but feel a little weak. She was angry just now and kicked her a little hard, but she couldn't hold back and apologized. She coughed lightly and said, "Why don't you hide?" Lu Xian took a deep breath and said, "I just want to make you happy because I see you angry. If you really feel sorry for me, just call me brother and listen. If you call me brother, I won't feel any pain. You deserve to be hurt to death." Lu Ning saw that he was still in the mood to talk, but the pain was still not severe enough, so he gritted his teeth angrily and added another kick to his other leg. This time Lu Xian hid quickly and was only slightly kicked. However, seeing that she was really angry, he stopped talking and did not continue. Lu Ning saw that he finally stopped talking, so she left him alone. Lucien went back to lie down on the sofa and turned on the TV. He turned around with the remote control in his hand and said boredly, switching channels, "Since you have moved back, let's go to my house for dinner tonight." Lu Ning refused and said, "No, Aunt G definitely didn't prepare my food today, so I won't go. I'd better chat with Aunt G in the evening." Lucien raised his head when he heard this and sneered, "Tisk, why are you being so polite? How much can your cat eat in a stomach not much bigger than yours? My mother will definitely be happy if she knows you have moved back. Since you moved away, she doesn't even have the enthusiasm to cook anymore." Lu Ning was silent and said, "Okay then. Since I've already had so many meals, I don't care if I have to take one more meal." Lucien then showed a satisfied expression and stayed with her at home for a while. After Lu Ning took out the clothes from the suitcase and put them in the closet, she went to the next door with the other party. End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 50. Chapter 50. A little liar will pretend to be clever and deceive others. Next door, Jishu and Lu Yu are both there. Seeing her was just as Lucien said, she was extremely happy. "Aunt G, this is the bird's nest that my mother asked me to bring you. She said it was brought back by a customer from abroad. She ate it well. I want you to try it too." Lu Ning took out the bird's nest that Tang Li had prepared in advance. He handed the bird's nest to Jishu, and then took out a box of tea and handed it to Lu Yu. "Uncle Lu, this is the tea my mother asked to bring you." Thinking that this girl would live alone and would have to trouble the next door in the future, the gifts Tang Li prepared this time were a bit heavier than usual. Jishu saw the things in her hands and complained, "Why did you bring so many things again? Your mother is just too polite." "No, these are gifts from others. My mother also borrowed flowers to offer to Buddha." Lu Ning leaned over, holding the other person's arm and said with a smile. She is truly close to Jishu. "I don't know your mother yet, so I'm afraid you're taking advantage here. The little you eat is nothing compared to what your mother brings every time." Jishu also liked her, and looked at her more than he looked at Lucien. Much more approachable. Even Lu Yu smiled and said, "Yes, yes, tell your mother not to be so polite next time. Your Aunt G and I have always treated you as our own child. Just come over directly next time. There is no need to prepare things for us." "Uncle Lu is right." Jishu nodded in agreement, holding her hand and saying, "Since you moved away, the house has become deserted. Remember to come back and sit more often when you have nothing to do in the future. Look at Aunt G and your Uncle Lu. Aunt G will prepare delicious food for you." "Aunt G, I was just about to tell you that I won't go back this time and will stay here from now on," Lu Ning said with a smile. Hearing this, Jishu couldn't help but look at Lu Yu. They both looked at her worriedly and said, "What's going on? Is it over there?" "No, they treat me very well there. It's just that I can't bear to leave Aunt G and Uncle Lu, so I just want to live next to you." Lu Ning leaned against Jishu obediently, her mouth felt as if it had been smeared with honey, and she sat across from him. Lucien secretly raised his eyebrows. A little liar will pretend to be clever and deceive others. I thought that I was deceived by this girl's cute appearance in the first place. Fortunately, now this girl flashes her claws in front of me at every turn, and she is not even half as cute as before. That's good." Jishu suddenly became happy after hearing this, patted her hand and said, "Now that we have moved back, we can live in peace. Aunt G and Uncle Lu are here, so just say hello if you need anything. By the way, your Uncle Lu bought fish this morning and will make your favorite pickled fish later." "Thank you, Aunt G." Lucien looked at the three people opposite him who were making love, and couldn't help but said bitterly, "I don't know, I thought you were a family." He had never been treated like this in front of his parents. Jishu glanced at Lu Ning and said, "I hope this girl was born to me." "Tisk, You are not satisfied with having a precious son like me, you actually care about other people's daughters. He extremely suspected that Lu Ning was his mother's long-lost child, whom he had picked up. Jishu rolled her eyes at him. You brat, how can you compare with Ning Ning? I wish you two could change. Okay, Lu Xian raised his eyebrows lazily, I'll ask Aunt Tang some other time. It happens that Aunt Tang also likes me, so I might as well ask her to give you the stinky girl to be your daughter, and I'll be his son. End of this chapter.